Satan, who is the great scam artist, also controls as part of his world a greedy and oppressive commercial system of things that's referred to in Revelation 18 verse 11 as the traveling merchants. So this commercial system exploits the people, or scamming them, we could say, and endeavors to keep them in economic bondage without thinking clearly. They're overwhelmed with the idea of materialism and gaining more things. It's very much the same tactic that we learned about Babylon the Great using to control people in a religious way, or the governments of this world using to control people in a political way. Just as a hungry predator searches for its next meal, big business is selfishly looking and driven by the idea of more profit. Who can they use to gain it to their benefit? Observe their attitude that's very clear when we read a couple of verses together from Revelation chapter 18. You'll notice what happens at a future event when Babylon the Great is finally destroyed. Notice the reaction of these traveling merchants. Read with me, if you will, verses 15 through 17 in Revelation 18. The traveling merchants of these things who became rich from her will stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment, and will weep and mourn, saying, too bad, the great city, clothed with fine linen and purple and scarlet, and richly adorned with gold ornament and precious stone and pearl, because in 1 hour such great riches have been devastated. Did you notice the real motives of the traveling merchants? They say, too bad, not because they're fond of false religion, but because her riches have been devastated. What a waste it is in their eyes. And they are mourning the loss of their commercial partner, false religion. But they stand at a distance, as verse 15 tells us, because they don't want to get too close to help her. They're so involved in losing out on the profit that Babylon the Great gave them for so many years that they lose sight of the significance of this important biblical event. But what about us as Jehovah's people, striving to remain separate from the world? Why is it important that we understand the tactics of the traveling merchant? For two reasons, which we'll discuss in more detail. First of all, so that we're not contaminated by the same way of thinking. And secondly, so that we ensure we're content with a modest lifestyle. Let's talk for a few minutes about why it's important to identify the traveling merchants' tactics and how we can keep ourselves from being contaminated by their way of thinking. As we've established already and is very apparent, the main goal of the commercial system is to make a profit. So each year, billions of dollars are spent on advertising and for commercials to make us unhappy with products that we already have, or to make us think that we need something that we don't have, or that we don't have enough money to buy. It's true that the necessities of man are few, but the wants are infinite. As an example, we can think of cell phones and other small electronic gadgets. How it seems after just a few months, or even a few weeks, what was new and the most up-to-date is now obsolete. It's been ruled out by something that's smaller, sleeker, faster. It's as if the hand of big business has a tight stranglehold on everyone in society today. It's even molding their way of thinking. So we're surrounded by people who have an attitude that is competitive, arrogant. They have overbearing personalities because they're so caught up in the idea of having what's the newest or gaining more material things. In fact, money and possessions are elevated to the status of godship, so that little room is left for spiritual things. So for us, it takes strong effort to not be contaminated by an attitude that's so prevalent in the world today. The idea of materialism can be compared to an undertow that we find in the waters off the coastline in the ocean. On the surface of society today, there appears to be calm as well. But materialism can be just like that undertow that can pull us under without our being aware of it, without even realizing what happened to us. It could be because of the insidious propaganda that attacks and tugs at our mind constantly. We may feel self-pity because we don't always have the newest and the latest when it comes to technology. Or we might even have feelings of being treated unfairly by others because our priorities are different